point 9 to it. Yeah.
Okay.
I would suggest basically anyone that's
Jerry going.
He's usually right on. We got a minute.
Oh, yeah. He didn't email me or nothing.
No.
Of course, I don't know. I look at my email about once a week, so.
Okay. I'm on board.
I wanted to ask you. You get it? You get it? He was part of the committee. Oh. That kind of surprised me. Other stuff I'd not separate that. Yeah, that was all. I don't know. Like clockwork. Slow clock.
Thanks.
7 o'clock, Monday, August 19th, and let's start the Ferrysburg City Council meeting. Roll call, please.
Councilman Montgomery.
Here.
Councilman Sias.
Here.
Councilman Murdoch. Here. Councilmember Pate.
Here.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Here.
Councilmember Sturley.
Here.
Mayor Carlson.
Here. We could all rise for the invocation by Pastor Nate Visker from the Ferrysburg Reformed Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. My name is Nate Visker, and I bring gratitude and greetings from community. It's a privilege to be here tonight to open with prayer. Our church, as probably you all know, is right on the north end of Mohawk Drive. We meet at 10:30 on Sunday mornings, and you're always welcome to join us. Let's pray. God, we come to you this evening, and in doing so, it's an acknowledgement that the things that are going to be required tonight are things that are beyond us, that there is a knowledge of the future that we simply don't have, that there is a type of insight and understanding that is beyond us, a wisdom that does not reside in mortal, time-bound human beings. We recognize that you do have these things, that they are at your disposal, and we pray that tonight you would give all that is needed to our city council members as they make decisions for the future of this city and for the community. We ask that you'd fill them with insight and knowledge and wisdom as they deliberate and make decisions. And in a time when our country is so divided, God, we pray that there would be unity tonight, that even when we disagree, it would be with the understanding that that disagreement doesn't make us enemies, but makes us people who care deeply about our community, and our different visions do not need to separate us, but can be the basis for working together to make Ferrysburg everything that you intend for it to be. We thank you for the staff here at the city offices, and we pray that you would bless them and strengthen them and encourage them in the discharge of their duties. And now we ask that you would be present here tonight to guide the deliberations. We pray your blessing on all of our city council members and ask your blessing on the city of Ferrysburg as well. And I pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Now is the time for public comments. This time on the agenda is for any citizen to direct brief comments or questions to the city council. Time for public comments will be given when an agenda item is discussed. If you have a comment or question, please raise your hand and I'll recognize you. After being recognized, please give your name and address for the record and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment tonight? Yes, sir.
I'm Tom Joyner, 16061 Harborview Drive. I'd like to discuss the proposed bond for the Spring Lake improvement. The city's bonding power is based on the total state equalized value of the city. From 2022 to 2024, the city's state equalized value increased by $104,430,600, an increase of 35.59%. The majority of this increase is due to the revaluation of lakefront properties. My home at 16061 Harborview Drive during the same period increased 30%. We did not make any improvements to the property during that period. I would conclude that the increase in the state equalized value of the city was due to revaluation of lakefront property. The city debt limit for 2024 is $39,744,000 or $744,660. It was an increase of approximately $6 million. The bonds for the lake improvement, which are a special assessment bond, are not included in the computation of the bonded limit for the city. Therefore, it does not affect your bonding power in any way. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any other public comment? Yes.
Janet Joyner, 16061 Harborview Drive. I belong to him. Our Lake Board consultant, Dr. Alan Steinman from Annis Water Resource Institute, has informed us and the board that much of the problem with Spring Lake is hardscape, creating runoff. For example, we have now on Lakeview, where we previously had small cottages with large lawns and green boat lots with webbed lawn chairs, we now have mini mansions side by side and in many cases brick and mortar patios and fire pits across the road. And this has pretty much occurred citywide. We would be hard-pressed, if even possible, to find a greater lake export than Dr. Steinman. And since we have not committed to preserving the environment the lake needs, we should maybe be willing to support the science-based Lake Board's. I've provided a picture of our lakefront. I included this with a previous letter, but that didn't really show the extent of what we were dealing with prior to the first alum treatment, and I'd like to just pass that around if I could. Is that okay? That lake treatment transformed our lakefront into clear, clean water, with the exception of algae blooms in the extreme summer heat. Those were treated with tropical spraying after the chemical analysis okayed it. We have enjoyed our lake for well over the 10-year predicted longevity of the alum treatment. Our children and 9 grandchildren and our dog Bud have had the opportunity to enjoy boating, swimming, and fishing in the lake thanks to the Spring Lake Lake Board and Dr. Steinman. I now ask you to provide that opportunity for our children's children, our grandchildren, and, those that will go behind us. So I hope that you will support the Lake Board's recommendation. Thank you. And I also would like to give a shout out to our community crew, Matt and the community crews. Our town is beautiful. It is the most beautiful town in the Tri-Cities. And I thank you all for that as well.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Yes, please.
Janet's a bit taller than me. I'm Candace Hessman. I live at 18036 Cherokee Drive. I'm here because of the no motorized vehicles on the bike path. And now we're allowing E1 and E2 is what I'm told. I'm going to speak from the heart. I've sent a letter. You know how I feel. You have time to read that. I don't have to read that to you. But I am a teacher. I'm not, I just retired. 46 years with special ed. And a lot of those kids didn't have to be there except they lived on a 25-mile-an-hour road. And they happened to run out, or they happened to veer on their bike. 25 miles an hour, you can't stop and you can't avoid. The cat down the block from me wasn't avoided. It's too fast. They do not alert you that they're coming. You cannot hear them. And they do not say, passing on the left, like normal bikers do. And 25 miles an hour, when they come around that corner and go past that playground in Coast Guard or in Ferry Park, that's too fast. And I had one student, 5 months in a full body cast and ended up in special ed. He was fine till the car hit him on a 25-mile-an-hour road in Grand Haven. I had another one riding on the shoulder with his mom, veered, 25-mile-an-hour road. 6 months in the hospital, another 6 months still with a collar and a helmet on his head. They call it closed-end head injury resulting in traumatic brain injury, and it doesn't go away. And the bike rider was wearing a helmet. It broke. Are we going to wait till one of our kids ends up like that? TBI is not a laughing matter, and it's not something that we should set up a condition that could cause. We need to say no motorized vehicles. An electric motor is a motor that can be tampered with, that can go much faster than 25 miles an hour if they do that. And are you going to station a police officer to watch the speed? How about the little label in 9-point print? Who can read that on a bicycle that says E1 or E2? I can't. Not as it's speeding past me. I don't know what's riding, but the scooters are fast too. And I just feel that we need to be proactive and not wait until some little guy ends up in the hospital. Our seniors too can't avoid these things. Dogs don't know they're coming. Okay, I think that we're looking at these few bike riders who can ride all over the city. They ride past my house every day. It doesn't bother me. But riding past me without even telling me they're coming, that bothers me. And coming around that corner right into a group of kids riding their little bikes and playing at the park, that's a safe place for kids to play. The park, now it's not. I don't have kids, but many of my neighbors do. And now with the pickleball courts, there's a lot more kids there because they're there playing pickleball. So I'm begging of you, please reconsider your decision before somebody gets hurt. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy. Craig, could you send to City Council the existing ordinance right now for e-bikes?
I can later today, yes.
That would be good. Copy Candy on it too. Anybody else have anything for Candy response?
Well, I'm in agreement with Candy. I was against voting for the motorized bikes. I was the only one though, so I agree with you.
Your Honor?
Yes.
This morning I was watching 5 o'clock news, And, the DNR is proposing that to allow e-bikes and something else. I didn't catch the second thing on all, statewide trails. Just throwing that out there. The DNR proposed that it's going to the House or Senate, whatever they gotta do from there.
They said they were gonna just do it on a trial basis, see how it went.
Yeah, I
That
didn't
was what
catch
they
the
said
whole
on the
thing. I
news.
just,
They're just not gonna make it in stone, though.
right. Yeah. That's it.
Very good. Anyone else with any public comment tonight? Seeing none, let's move forward. Moving forward to agenda item 6A, consideration of approval of a consent agenda. Approved the August 5th, 2024 City Council minutes as printed.
So moved. Second.
Support.
Go ahead.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch,
Yes.
Councilmember Kate,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sturley,
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Amber, did you need clarification as to motion and
Just
second on that?
confirm the second for me, please. I didn't hear who
Who
said.
seconded that?
I did, and somebody else did.
I kind of, okay, thank you.
Very good. Also, we had received emails from City Hall adding 4 more applicants to the EDC, so we need to add those. As to, after 7I, is that correct, Craig?
I'd probably prefer to do 7H after 7H, so it'd be H1, H2, H3, and H4.
Okay. So we'd entertain a motion for H1, H2, H3, and H4 for the 4 names that we were emailed yesterday, correct?
So H1 would be Roger Jonas. H2 would be Regina Schoberg. H3 would be Peter Schoberg. And H4 would be Jake Sturley.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion that we add H1, 2, 3, 4 to the discussion.
Support.
Motion and support on the table. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Councilmember Sias,
Yay.
Councilmember Murdoch,
Yes.
Councilmember Kate,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sturley,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good. So moving on to new business, agenda item 7A, discussion to take action if appropriate to adopt a resolution pledging the full faith and credit of the city of Ferrysburg to the Spring Lake Special Assessment Lake Improvement Bonds in the principal amount of $3,600,000, with Ferrysburg's share being 27%. And there's members of, how many members of the Lake Board do we have here tonight? 2? 3 of you, okay, very good. Well, we're pleased to see you. Would like to preface this with just a couple of things real quick. That the City Council, as individual members, have received and heard concerns from citizens that are part of the Lake Board Association about transparency and good governance. The Lake Board came to us with a bond request, and that was tabled. After that, I ended up going to a Lake Board meeting and provided the Lake Board a letter essentially outlining some of the concerns that City Council had heard. Afterwards, the Lake Board had requested, came forward, and City Council voted to deny the bond request. Now the Lake Board is requesting to have the City Council revisit this. At our last meeting on August 5th, I had said that I was in support of the Lake Board bond, okay? I believe that citizen involvement, just like what happened with the Nature Preserve here in Ferrysburg and with the Save Smith Bridge group, we were able to get government to do good governance and maintain some proactive transparency. Citizens have reached out to me from Ottawa and Muskegon counties number of the different bayous. Some of the citizens have organized into a couple of different groups. And I still believe that the citizen involvement is the key to this. The path forward, as I see it, is for the citizens that are affected by the lake board need to become engaged. Ferrysburg is simply being asked to guarantee a tax assessment. We're not into running the lake. That's not in our lane. I don't think we need to be in that lane. Certainly, to help out with transparency, that's one of the concerns that we've heard from citizens is lack of transparency. I'm sure City Council would be more than amenable to offering City Hall with its streaming potential and archiving a video that we found even with our City Council meetings, attendance here of 20 people, but viewership is in the hundreds. And that might be something that you guys might want to grasp a hold of as an offer to use City Hall for your meetings, okay? Would love to hear what the Lake Board would like to talk about.
Okay, thanks. I would first like to thank the mayor for allowing us an opportunity at convincing the council to support a bond for the much-needed alum treatment on Spring Lake. My name is Dave Billinghurst, and I'm the Ferrysburg rep for the Spring Lake Lake Board. I was appointed about 1 year ago by the city of Ferrysburg. I took this position because I wanted to say in making decisions on Spring Lake that are best for all Ferrysburg residents. The Spring Lake Board, made up of 10 members, have unanimously agreed that the alum treatment is our best option. We need the council's support to make this happen. Spring Lake and Fruitport quickly approved their support because they know how important it is to protect one of their top assets. The alum treatment would be applied next spring and would show immediate positive results. The alum treatment was last done in 2005 and lasted more than 10 years. We will need to do more than just the alum treatment, but this would be a great start. So what is the financial impact for the city? Well, cleaner water means houses sell for more money, which means the city has more tax revenue. If you do not support this bond, we will have to explore doing the alum treatment at a much higher interest rate. This would more than likely increase the $600 per year assessment for lakefront owners. This increase would be for all lakefront owners from Spring Lake, Fruitport, and Ferrysburg. So in closing, as a concerned Ferrysburg lakefront owner for over 30 years who has grandchildren that are swimming in my bayou every day in the summer, I hope that you guys support this bond. That's all I have.
Your Honor, give me a motion.
Oh, you're good.
I'll make a motion. Adopt the resolution. Or,
Okay, motion and support.
sorry, go ahead. More about formalities. You can speak.
Go ahead.
I was just
Thank
going to add that, the city council had raised several concerns and the board responded back. But it appears now you've gotten a lot of input on this. So unless there are more questions, I've got Joe Bush here. Joe's the vice chair of the board, Ottawa County Water Resources Commissioner. So if you had any additional questions, we're here to answer them. If not, if council's ready to reconsider the resolution.
Your Honor, I have
Yes.
a question. What are your other things you're planning to do besides the Band-Aid of the alum? What are the other things you're going to do so our lake doesn't get this way again?
Yeah, well, we have a long-term management component, a watershed management element of the plan that will be implemented over the 10-year duration of the plan. And that's going to involve everything from education, maybe some physical improvements in the upper watershed where we've got farmland and some drainage issues. There's been some preliminary discussion on some of the storm drains that discharge to the lake and maybe putting structures on those to catch the sediment and nutrients before they're directly discharged into the lake. So we have a whole slew of things we're going to be looking at long-term. But the alum treatment is important because that's one of the largest sources of nutrients to the lake, this internal release of phosphorus. So
and that's the one that we want to start with, but that's not to the exclusion of other improvements on it.
Yes. I just have a comment. I would just say that in addition to what you're doing, I would ask that you don't hesitate to bring ideas to us that we can help with, whether it's sharing through education, through the forums the city has, or even if you have ordinances that we can discuss that can control some of that runoff or at least prevent some of that runoff, I think would be amicable to at least discuss and hopefully pass.
That would be excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any? Your Honor?
Yes.
Couple quick questions. I was at the meeting where you guys approved the $600 assessment. There was no mention that the $600 assessment was contingent upon the municipalities underwriting the bond. So was that an oversight? Was that a deliberate I hate to say information given to the public at that meeting?
No, the amount of the assessment is capped, and the point Dave's making is if we can't borrow and get a low interest rate, it's gonna cost more to finance the alum treatment. But the $600 is a cap, and the board cannot
I understand
exceed
that, but you never brought up the fact that to do the alum treatment, you required the 3 municipalities to sign off on a bond to allow you to treat the lake. At the last meeting, Mr. Billinghurst, I'm sorry, I may not have your name right, said that if we didn't approve it, you wouldn't treat the lake. Okay, now what I'm hearing is you're going to treat the lake, but the assessment may extend out a few more years.
We're gonna treat the lake, and we're gonna do it regardless within the budget that was set. So the board doesn't have the discretion to arbitrarily increase that budget beyond what was presented at the public hearing. The question is, though, are we gonna have money left over? Are we gonna have surplus monies, or are we gonna have to use it all to finance the bond issue?
So it's gonna get treated regardless?
Yes.
Okay, I got a question for Mr. Bush, if you would.
Sure.
Absolutely. Shoot away, Mr. Councilman.
My concern is you're the county water resource rep?
Correct.
Why isn't the county underwriting this bond?
The county does not have any financial burden or cost in this. It's only municipalities that are on the water.
But you can underwrite the bond for the county as a entity could underwrite the whole bond for the lake board.
Well, the bond is only for not the cost, it's for the interest of for the program. So the county has no interest or no assessment to the project at all. So we can't go, so our bond counsel, which is Dickinson and Wright, I'm not sure if you guys use Dickinson and Wright, but they told us that the county could not give full faith and credit or pass a resolution like our county board of commissioners, because they don't have any lakefront, they don't border the lakefront. It's all the municipalities. And that's why we're here with the Ferrisburg, because we got the other two. You guys will be the third one to pass the resolution, if that makes sense. The county does pass a lot of resolutions, but they have to be a part of the so-called ownership of it. The county does not have any special assessment. Neither does Ferrisburg. It's the property owners. Does that make sense?
Not really. The county, when we float a bond for like the force main, the county underwrote.
For the AAA bond rating, so they can do you can do the AAA bond rating through the county. But for this bond, it's right, the bond is through the Lake Board, not Ottawa County. Does that make sense?
Not really. I'm sure it does to somebody, but I'm not quick.
Does that make sense to you, Craig? When you go through and you look at for bonding through Dickinson and Wright, you use the county's AAA bond rating, but the bond is actually through the Spring Lake Lake Board. Does that make sense?
Right. Do you understand all that, Craig?
Yeah.
And he's right.
So when the city bonded for the bike path in 2013, That was something that the city council approved to pay back through the millage that was created from the bike path millage. So we bonded for that through the city ourselves. At that time, we could have gone through the county. If they would have had a better credit rating in the city, maybe perhaps a lower interest rate, we could have gone through that. Ottawa County doesn't have any ownership of any property that borders Spring Lake, so they cannot be assessed for any cost to that bond.
Okay, now that makes sense to me.
Okay.
I
I
don't know
figured
why-
you'd be able to make it because you're going to use it as an example of what City of Ferrisburg did to
Right,
distinguish the two.
right. Yeah, that makes sense to me
Okay.
now. I don't know if we misunderstood, but Craig clarified that for me.
Well, that's why I tried to use an example from Ferrisburg, that you guys might have used that AAA bond rating or a bond.
Gotcha.
Your Honor, I have a question. Craig, I just wonder, how is this going to affect us with our other projects that we have coming?
So it really shouldn't affect the city too much because we're not paying, the city's not paying for it. The property owners that are being assessed are paying for it.
So even if we sign on to the bond, it won't hurt us?
No, the Spring Lake Board has had a special assessment for 20-plus years, and it's always been paid through the assessment that's assessed to the property owners that have benefit to Spring Lake.
He's
Moving
correct.
Forward to the
Yep.
vision. Else.
Your Honor? Yes. Craig, with this bond, would that adjust our bond rating if we had to finance other things?
It shouldn't affect our bond rating, no.
It shouldn't affect our interest rate or anything like that?
Should not, no.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is just for the interest for our bond. So it doesn't go against anything that the county or the city would do future, like your bridge. I know that's a big concern.
Well, it's a big chunk.
Absolutely.
A half a percent on 14 million is a lot of money.
Correct.
Your Honor? Just to clarify, Craig, we're not on the hook for 14 million for Smith's Bridge, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
We're on the hook for anything over 14 million.
Thank you.
That's assuming the grant comes through. I've heard that same song and dance for 10 years. Every time it comes up, it gets vetoed. So, at some point, we're either gonna get the money or we're gonna have to do it.
I'm not sure that city council should be making decisions based on hypotheticals in the future. Right now, we have a commitment from the state of Michigan to pay for Smith's Bridge. We can't proceed with fear that something is going to drop from the sky and prevent that from happening. They made a commitment to us. We can proceed as a city as though that has been promised to us. We don't need to deal in hypotheticals as for not supporting something with the Lake Board because of something that's happened to us in the past with Smith's Bridge. That's my opinion.
Anyone else have anything? We have a motion and
Your Honor,
support.
I do have one comment. Thanks for all you do. The Lake Board, I appreciate, looking out after one of our greatest natural resources. And I would like to make a comment that, in contraction of what Debbie had said earlier, she had asked a question, what is the Lake Board going to do to clean up the lake in the future? Alum, as we all know, is just a Band-Aid. And I appreciate the response that you made, education, because I think it all starts with education. And the Lake Board itself cannot fix our lakes. That starts with the homeowners. And it starts with their responsibility to create buffer zones and to relieve runoff and all kinds of other things that add to the contamination of our waters. And that's where we need to start. We need to start with education and the homeowners' involvement so they know what they're doing right or wrong to increase the problem. And I know there's been a lot of talk about sharing the cost among the community, not just the lakeshore owners paying for the treatment. And, I would think that the community would get behind that if we had a long-term solution in play. Right now, alum is just a Band-Aid. And we can't ask everybody to pay for what would be a Band-Aid. We need to fix the solution. We need to go to the solution, and the solution is the property owners and education. So that's all I got to say on it. Thank you.
And you're right. Thanks for those comments.
And that would roll right back to engaged citizens. That's what it takes.
I do know the city or Spring Lake Township, Gordon Gallagher is looking to put a kind of a meeting together at the library after Labor Day weekend. And then, do we have a date on that? I forget this.
September 11th.
Yeah, September 11th. I should know that. 6 o'clock, September 11th. And Gordon Gallagher is putting it all together, the city manager or township manager. So then we could have an education series with a lot of concerns. Al Steinman will be there and the Lake Board will be there to answer any questions. But Al Steinman plans on doing a presentation that night, talking about what we have today, what are we going to have tomorrow, and what do we have from 30, 50 years from now. So we're excited about that.
Craig, can you add that to our community calendar?
Yes, I can.
Please.
I want to make sure I got that in there for Gordon Gallagher, that he did put it together, so September 11th. Any other questions? And I appreciate the dialogue, and I appreciate the discussion. It's an important topic for your residents.
City Council have anything else? We have a motion and a report on the floor. Yes? Yes, sir.
Mayor and council members, I feel I must speak to you before you make a decision about the Spring Lake Special Assessment Lake Board Improvements Bond. I am very displeased with the way that the Lake Board is run and the way that they are not open and the way it treats the residents. Last fall, I attended a Lake Board meeting at Spring Lake Middle School. The meeting was very well attended by shoreline property owners who were not happy with the assessment that was about to be voted on. After doing all their business, the floor was finally open to the public comments. While many people spoke about the method used to determine how much each property owner would be assessed, some of the board members gathered in groups of 2 or 3 and carried on their own private discussions, not listening to the not paying attention to the concerns of those who were speaking. Some of the board were listening, but gave guarded answers such as, "That's how it's been done for 25 years." Doesn't necessarily make it right for 25 years. Early this year, I attended another Lake Board meeting. Again, there were many taxpayers at the meeting. At the end of the meeting, when it was finally time for comments, we were told that this was only an informational meeting. One of your council members also attended this meeting and observed how the board members were not hearing the concerns of the public. They listened, but it was on deaf ears. Again, the members had their little groups and carried on their own conversations. A few did hear the concerns, but this was an information meeting. They did not want to resolve anything. I attended a meeting several weeks ago of the Lake Board at Spring Lake City Hall. This meeting was filled to overflowing. They had to bring in chairs from other rooms, and still people were standing for over 2 hours. The new chairman introduced himself and then pontificated a friend of his who he wanted to put on the board to represent the lakefront owners. How is this person going to represent us? A true representative should not be a friend, relative, neighbor, or coworker of anyone on the board. The new chairman said that he did not believe in verbal response to a request for a vote, but only raised hands were needed. Not one time during any of the votes did the chairman ask if there were any nays. The lakefront owners were dressed down during the meeting, and their comments were said to be uncivil, sniping, and awful, having no place in the Lake Board meeting. When it came time for comments, There were many who had something to say. They had waited over 2 hours to have their say during the comments. During the comments, 5 of the board members up and left. They did not hear or even listen to what the residents had to say. They had no desire to listen because they had something more important to do. 2 hours we waited, and they couldn't stay to hear us. How uncivil and awful is that? Because of the way that the residents are treated, it is my opinion that you should not pledge full faith and credit of the city to a board that has no regard for the people who they are taxing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Sir, could we get your name for the record?
Urban Trout, 161.
Very good. Thank you, Stu. Anyone from the Lake Board care to respond to citizen Stu? Okay, very good. Anyone else have anything to add? City council members?
I do have one thing to add. Was it Mr. Stoop? I'm sorry.
That's his first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't get your name.
Urban Trout.
Urban Trout. Urban, my concern is, what would you suggest we do if we don't go forward with the alum treatment? Would you suggest that we allow our lakes to continue in the way they're going, or because this council doesn't have any authority over the lake board, we cannot pressure them to change their meetings. We have no say over what they do. So we're kind of put into
3 times tonight that they're going to go ahead with the alum treatment.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. But you understand, if we don't support this bond, it could cost the citizens more in interest. No, it's not. If we don't support this bond, their credit rating will not be as good on the bond market, and it would increase the possibly.
Treat the residents a little better than in listen.
I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
If that's what's going on at these meetings, but my point is, we have no authority to make them treat you better. That has to come from the community to the lake board. Okay.
And I maintain that with us tabling it because of citizen complaints like yours through the years, and then denying it, is bringing this to the top. It's causing it to boil over, and it just takes citizens involved with their lake board. The constituents that are going to pay that need to, if you're pissed off about it, that's the tree you need to be barking at, not the city of Ferrisburg. Okay?
Right. I'm not angry with the city of Ferrisburg.
I understand that.
But to have the comments at the end of the meeting after they've already voted on things, then they get up and leave.
I was treated very similarly at the Lake Board meeting I went to as well, so I'm not surprised.
Going to those meetings isn't.
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've attended a couple of Lake Board meetings, and quite honestly, I was appalled at the way the citizens are treated. However, that's not the issue before us. There's a motion on the floor to approve or not approve this. I'd soon move forward.
Any further discussion from council? Mr. O'Donnell? Good evening, Timothy O'Donnell, 540 Ferry Street. I've heard a lot of talk tonight about putting the full faith and backing of the city of Ferrisburg. And then Councilmember Sias put a very good point. You're putting out the full faith and backing of the city of Ferrisburg, but we have no say on what happens with the money. And I think that is something you really need to look at. If we're gonna spend $3.6 million or back that, then we need to have some type of representation and a way to speak for it. That happened down in New Orleans, where money was given by the federal government to the city of New Orleans, and they went and spent it however they wanted to spend it, and there was no recourse for it. So, and also, this is just a Band-Aid. $14 million in interest? So that's all it is. It's for the interest. $14 million is what the around that for the total cost. 3.6 is our share. But if you do that at 27%, roughly $14 million total. We've got a lot of other projects that we're in desperate need of. Is that going to be assessed just to the lakefront owner, or is it they're going to ask for a special millage like we did for the bike paths?
Special list of the lake owners, property owners that have benefit to Spring Lake.
Okay, but you're still asking them to pay more in basically that is a tax. And I don't think that, and Mayor Carlson, you ran on a lower tax platform. I don't see that it's going to really benefit the city of Ferrisburg to that extent. So even though I love seeing Spring Lake, I don't think that the property owner should, in the city of Ferrisburg, should put their neck out on the line with no representation.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
The city of Ferrisburg does have a rep on the Spring Lake Lake Board. That's Dave Billinghurst out in the audience now. Tony, did you want to say anything in regards to the dollar figures that were just mentioned?
Tony? Hey, Tony, would you mind coming to the podium?
The portion of the project that we're talking about being financed is the alum treatment. That had a $3.3 million price tag. I think it's $3.6 million in the resolution, but it was bid out. It came in at about $3.5 million. We're actually going to borrow less than that because we've already collected one installment of the assessment. The 27% is not the interest rate. That's the share of the total that comes from the residents within the city of Ferrisburg. 9% comes from Fruitport Township. The balance, the majority, comes from Spring Lake Township. The interest rate.
So the 3.6 is split up between all the different municipalities.
Correct.
Correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, Mayor. Yes.
Of which Ferrisburg is 27%.
That's correct.
Which brings us to about $1 million.
Roughly
Thereabouts,
speaking.
roughly.
Yep,
Right.
exactly.
Because I heard 14 million.
Yeah, and so the interest, depending on the interest rate, we hope to borrow 3.5%, 4%. So, and I don't know right off the top what the interest is on that. I haven't seen the bond schedule yet, but it's nowhere near that. I think, yeah, that 27% was misunderstood.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
I have a question for Tony a moment.
Yes.
How come the village of Spring Lake doesn't contribute? They don't have.
They do.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, the Spring Lake Township, the assessing authorities, we have City of Ferrisburg by itself. We have the Village of Fruitport and Fruitport Charter Township as one. Okay. Yeah, they both have representatives on the board though, okay. As does the City of Ferrisburg, Spring Lake Village, and Spring Lake Township both have representatives on the board.
Thank you.
Councilman DeWitt mentioned that we have a motion support on the floor. Anyone have any further discussion? Seeing none, Amber.
Okay, Councilmember Murdoch.
No.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sturley.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Mayor Carlson,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. Moving forward to 7B, which is discussion to take action if appropriate to approve additional contributions to the Spring Lake Ferrisburg Police Pension. Craig?
Years back, there was a Spring Lake Ferrisburg Police Department, and that was disbanded in 2014. We was contracted with the Ottawa County Sheriff's Department for police services. As one of the originals from the old police department, there's a pension that is the responsibility of the Spring Lake Village and City of Ferrisburg. And in your packet was a sheet showing how much of that pension has been funded over the years. And then 2.5 years ago, we were running short of deputy due to retirements. At that time, we got together with the village and we thought, well, let's just keep the budget the same and get a credit from the county for a portion of that deputy not being on patrol. And we would use that savings to pay down the pension. So last year, we paid $68,000 each of us extra above what was mandatory to pay on the contribution to try to get the funding level up a little higher. And so with recent change with the police contract with including Spring Lake Township, the city's still able to save a considerable amount of money of what we've been spending on police services. We'd like to use that savings to pay down an extra portion on the pension. So where you're looking at the figure that was thrown out would be $75,000 each from municipality or $85,000. Our city budget, the way it was put together, we didn't know if the Spring Lake Township would be on board with the new contract and everything, or if that was going to get passed or not. So we kind of kept the budget the same number, a little increase over last year. So there's plenty of room in the budget to pay the $85,000.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
Your Honor?
Yes.
Craig, will this, what percentage of unfunded are we going to be at with this extra?
Well, back in 2022, at December 31st, we are at 73%. And for December of 23, we went up to 77%, so we increased it by 4% with the $68,000 from each community.
So what is this going to put us at?
We're thinking of another 4% increase in funding.
So it would be 81%?
Yeah.
How many people we have that are retirement on the old contract?
I don't have that number. There's
Can't have many left, can we? Some are already retired.
Yeah, they're retired and drawing the pension.
Okay, so that's why we're shortfall?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that plus when the Spring Lake Ferrisburg Police Department dissolved, there was a couple of years where we got the report from the pension company that the pension went away. So it took us a couple of years to work through that the pension's always going to be there. And that 2 years that we didn't really contribute much didn't help.
As I recall, there was we were getting next to nothing on the return on the pension at one point in time too, correct?
Yeah, it would just depend on the market, but.
Right. Okay, thank you.
And this is a defined benefit, so the citizens have to make up a shortfall if the doesn't meet a minimum rate of return.
That's correct.
Okay.
And so when we contracted with the Sheriff's Department, that pension stopped. So anybody that stayed on and still patrolled from the old police department on the county, they went to a different defined contribution plan.
Would certainly entertain a motion on this.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we approve the additional contribution to the Spring Lake Ferrisburg Police Pension Fund contingent on Spring Lake Village matching it. Is that what we need?
And the amount?
Spring Lake Village matching our contribution?
Or city contribution of $85,000?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And the village has to match it, correct?
Right.
Thank you.
Support.
Motion and support. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Amber?
Councilmember Kate,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sterling.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes,
Motion passed.
very good.
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Before moving on to C here, I'd like to remove my name from consideration to appointment for the Economic Development Corporation. I just threw my name in there to get this thing moving along, and I don't have the inclination nor the time to do it. I would like to remove my name from consideration.
Craig, do we need some action on that to remove that from the agenda?
Yes, please.
Do you need a motion or second, support?
I'll make a motion to remove my name.
Support.
Motion and support. Amber?
Okay. Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sterling. Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch. Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. Moving on to 7C, discussion and take action if appropriate to appoint Tim Scarapina to the Economic Development Corporation of the City of Ferrisburg for a term ending July 1st, 2025. Craig, can you fill us in as to this and how we can handle this
Yes.
quickly?
So we did some research and we found out that years ago, back in the late 80s, there was an Economic Development Corporation put together by the city. Finding that out, we reviewed that with the city attorney. He indicated that there's no record of the corporation being dissolved. And so we want to dissolve that corporation. To do that, we need to appoint 9 directors to the corporation, to the board. And the one goal is to adopt a resolution dissolving the corporation. So we advertised beginning in July for positions with the one purpose is to dissolve the Economic Development Corporation. Those applications are in your packet.
Great.
Craig, I have a question. We don't have a motion, right? Can I ask? So,
Of course.
So, Craig, there's a lot in this corporation bylaws. Are there? I understand we're voting this in so that they can dissolve and we can move forward. Is there risk that we don't dissolve? And I guess if it doesn't dissolve, it looks like this corporation can buy property on behalf of the city and sell property on behalf of the city and enter into leases. I mean, are there no checks and balances there, or?
No, so this corporation is standalone corporation of the city.
Right.
And that's why the thought was that we dissolve that because we want city council to have that authority to buy and sell.
Your Honor. Actually, there is we can't sell city property without the voters' consent. So.
That's what I'm verifying, yeah.
Yeah.
You can purchase.
That is an ordinance. We can't sell city property without the voters' consent, so.
But can this organization buy property?
Yes.
For the city?
Yes.
And we don't have say?
Correct.
Yes.
Another issue is, as I understand, the way Craig explained it to me is, if you want to start a factory in Ferrisburg, an Economic Development Corporation can write a bond without city council approval to allow that or help finance that situation. So this is probably a real good idea to dissolve this thing.
So I agree, it's a great idea to dissolve it. I'm just asking from a risk perspective, if we get 9 members, and I'm not saying any of these members would, but from a risk perspective, can these 9 members say, never mind, we're not dissolving?
I guess that's possible.
And start buying up property for the city and writing bonds and doing everything else that's within their legal limits of?
Well, I think there has to be to buy property, some economic benefit to the city to do that. And this property would have to be in the city, which is not much vacant land in the city to do anything. But we advertised
I understand what we advertised for.
to dissolve this corporation.
Okay.
That's what everybody applied to do.
So is there any means of accountability if they choose not to dissolve, move forward with writing bonds and everything else?
I'm not sure there is until their term's up in 6 years.
And our city attorney advises us of doing that?
If you want to dissolve a corporation, you have to appoint members to the board.
So did he talk anything about? I mean, this could have I understand it's a hypothetical, right? This hypothetical could have severe consequences on our residents. So I just want to clarify it.
Your Honor?
Yes.
We're going to approve terms ending July 1st, 2025, so it's not a 6-year term, it's just a 1-year term. Actually, now it's less than a year.
That's a good point, yes.
Can we do that? Because the bylaws say they have to be 6 years.
I checked with the city attorney, he didn't come back with anything on that. He just said there has to be 9 members.
Well,
Craig, can we question each of these applicants?
You're more than welcome to, yes.
I mean, I think a lot of them wrote in their, applications from what I read that they're joining for the sole purpose of dissolving, but people change their minds too. So
Some people also didn't put it in their application though. It wasn't in all of them.
yeah. Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes, Jerry.
Just one comment is, this corporation already exists. And, it should be an active incorporation if this was in the bylaws of our city and our charter. So if we want to dissolve it, I see no other way other than, supporting these, candidates so they can go forward and do so. As it sits right now, this charter, this corporation exists, and they could appoint, if we didn't want to appoint people to dissolve it, we could be forced to appoint people that wanted to go forward with it. So I think it's time we just squash it now and move forward.
I think what Will's concerned about is making sure that the people that are applying are dedicated to performing the task. That's his concern. I don't think it's about moving forward or not moving forward, just making applying and being appointed are willing to do what's necessary to design.
I understand that. And I think most of them are. I think most of them want to move forward with our current economic development committee and get away from the corporation. So, I looked through every application and, yeah.
I'd entertain a motion.
Okay, well, are we gonna do them individually?
I think we should do individually. I have one more question, if that's okay. Craig, in section 6, it talks about mergers and reorganization. So if we dissolve this, if we appoint these community members and they vote to dissolve, and then we create a new EDC with updated bylaws, are those people, those individuals transferred over?
This is going to take a little bit of time to do that. I'm not sure that they'll have much time left on their term because we have to set up a meeting to dissolve the corporation. After that, if it's approved, the resolution is adopted, it has to come to city council, then it has to go to the state. So there's going to be a little time involved.
And the city attorney didn't think there's any other means of dissolving that city council had with the power or a voter?
Not according to the city attorney.
Okay.
Harry, we would entertain that motion for 7C.
Okay, 7C. I'd make a motion to accept or appoint Tim Scarpino to the Economic Development Corporation in the city of Ferrisburg, term ending July 1st, 2025.
Support.
And Andrew.
Councilmember Sturley.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to appoint Rebecca Hop to the Economic Development Corporation for a term ending July 1st, 2025.
Support.
Motion and support. Amber?
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sturley.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Your Honor, I would make a motion to appoint Timothy O'Donnell to the Economic Development Corporation for a term ending July 1st, 2025.
Support. Your Honor,
Yes.
can we have Mr. O'Donnell come up? I have a question. Ask him before.
Sure. So willing. Mr. O'Donnell, did you want to come up and answer a question from council member? Go ahead, Jake.
I read your application. Most people that fill out the application filled it out and said that they were joining the board to dissolve the board. You didn't write that in your application. Are you committed to voting to dissolve this board so we can restart the economic development?
It would be
advisory board?
inappropriate for me to make any commitment at this time without facts. I cannot say yes or no, that would be inappropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Tim.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Of course.
If Mr. O'Donnell's not willing to commit to following the city attorney's recommendation, I'm not willing to support his appointment to this board.
So we have 70 discussion to take action appropriate to appoint Tim O'Donnell. Do we have a motion on the floor?
We have a motion and support.
Motion and support
Yep.
for approval?
Correct.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Yes.
We want to let O'Donnell.
Oh. Come up to the podium, please, Tim.
Yes, I believe that the question would be, is inappropriate to ask me that at this point in time because you're not asking every candidate that. They're not here to answer that question. Therefore, if you're not going to, you're going to make me commit to something and tell you that, again, I can't, that is not appropriate to, for that.
I understand. I prefaced it by saying that most people that fill out these applications put in their application that they were joining with for the purpose of dissolving.
Right.
You did not put that in your application, so that's why I asked you specifically if you were committed to that action.
I am committed to take the appropriate action that needs to be taken.
Are you committed to following the city attorney's recommendation to vote to dissolve this board?
I am committed to taking appropriate action.
Thank you.
And that, unless you ask everybody that, that should not be used as a measure point.
Your Honor, Tim, I have a question for you. Can I ask you, what are your feelings towards the Economic Development Corporation?
I don't approve of the Economic Development Corporation. Okay, but I'm not going to make a commitment at this point in time. That would be inappropriate. Because anybody that's appointed to any board should have an open mind.
But you do know that when it was advertised with the intent that you would be joining to vote no, correct? That's how it was advertised by our city.
Okay. Again, I will take the appropriate action that is needed at the time.
Thank you. Okay, so we have motion and support on the floor.
Okay. Councilmember Murdoch.
No.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sturley.
No.
Councilmember Montgomery.
No.
Mayor Carlson.
No.
Motion failed.
Moving on to 7F, to appoint Jim Menerick to the EDC.
Your Honor, I'll make that motion.
Support.
Amber?
Okay, Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sterling.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good. 7G has been stricken. Moving on to 7H1.
Your Honor,
Yes.
would it be possible, now that we have less candidates, to add Mike back in?
I don't want to be bad again.
I think we still have,
Okay.
I think we still have 9.
Do we have a
quorum.
We do?
I'm not
Okay.
showing up.
Okay.
Honor, I would make a motion to appoint Alex Megalik to the Economic Development Corporation with a term ending July 1st, 2025.
Very good.
Craig, he has served on the Economic Development Board or something.
Yes, he did work on that task force.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Well, I'll support. But, Craig, just looking at the past, board composition, I apologize, I had this in my notes and forgot to ask. We had a breakup, of directors in the past of 3 business owners, 3 government officials, 3 private citizens. Is that required?
I didn't see anything in the minutes on that, no. Are the articles of corporation or bylaws?
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Alex is a landlord in Ferrysburg. He has a business in Ferrysburg. If that's a concern.
Is he a resident of Ferrysburg?
Yes.
Okay. We got motion and support.
Yep. Amber?
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sterling.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Moving on to agenda item 7H1, Roger Jonas for the EDC.
I'll make a motion to appoint Mr. Jonas to the, sorry, pull the words up again.
Support.
For a term ending July 1st, 2025.
Amber?
Councilmember Sterling.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Moving on to 7H2 for Peter Schoberg. Isn't that correct, Craig?
Regina Soberg, yes.
Regina Schoberg was
For a term
H2?
ending July 1st, 2025.
Okay, very good. Motion and support on Regina Schoberg.
I'll make a motion to support her to nominate Regina Soberg.
Support.
And Amber?
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sterling. Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
And in conclusion, 7H4 for Jake Sterling for EDC. No,
Hi.
7H3,
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
sorry, for Peter Schoberg.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Is it appropriate to have 2, husband and wife on the board?
There's nothing prohibiting that, no.
Okay, that's just a question I had. Thank you.
Okay.
Make a motion to nominate Peter Soberg to the Economic Development Corporation.
Support.
Very good.
Your
Amber?
Honor, I just want, we have nothing in our charter or anything about husband and wife being on.
No,
the
we've
same
had
board.
husband and wives be on the same board and commissions in the past.
Okay, very good. Amber?
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt. Councilmember Sterling.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
And in conclusion, 7H4 for Jake Sterling for EDC.
Your Honor, I'd
Yes.
make a motion to appoint Jake Sterling to the Economic Development Corporation for a term ending July 1st, 2025.
Support.
Debbie can have that.
You guys behave. Amber?
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sturley.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Moving on to 7I, discussion and take action if appropriate to cancel the Tuesday, September 3rd City Council meeting.
Your Honor, I would make a motion we cancel Tuesday, September 3rd City Council meeting pending. We don't have anything on the.
I have nothing at this time for the agenda, and for the following meeting, looks like going to be a light agenda as well.
Okay. Very good.
Support.
Support. Motion and support. Go ahead, Amber.
Craig, will your evaluation be the following? Or whenever we?
Yeah, whenever they
Okay.
let me know they're ready for it.
Whenever you guys turn in your sheets.
Yeah, when we get the sheets.
I brought mine. I turned mine in. I don't know who got it. Right?
Mike was first.
Mike
isn't
was
it?
first.
Go ahead, Amber.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sturley.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Moving on to 7J, work session Pioneer Resources lease. Craig, you want to bring us up to speed on this?
Yes, Pioneer Resources, their lease expires in November of this year. Talking to them, they're interested in having a long-term lease with the city, but they would like some improvements to the rooms that they lease out. At the last couple of city council meetings ago, we talked about this. City council requested some information of who Pioneer Resources was and some of the market rates for that's going for commercial leases. So that's in your packet. What we're getting from Pioneer Resources is on the low end compared to some of these other commercial places. If Pioneer Resources was not there, I think the city would still have to do some improvements to get a new tenant in there. So they're looking for about $25,000 worth of improvements. If the city would pay for the $25,000 improvements, they would be willing to do a long-term lease with the city and still pay the current rate of $1,000 a month.
Which is below market rate, is that correct? Percentage-wise, how ballpark, how low market rate are we?
I think the lowest one in there was like $1.80. I think we're around 70 cents a square foot.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. DeWitt.
Reading through the emails here from Chris Peel. He says our marketplace is $12 to $20 per foot. He says, well, he suspects that we're on the lower end of the scale. So we're renting it out now at what?
About 70 cents a square foot.
And
how much a square foot?
70 cents.
70. Oh. And the market rate is 12 to 20?
I think that's for the high $20 would be for Class A.
Right.
Space.
Well, yeah, he said, well, I'm reading an email from Chris Peel here. $12 to $20 per foot. At 70 cents, there ain't no way you're throwing 25 grand at this thing. 70 cents per square foot lease for 10 years or 20. I don't care if they send it for 30 years. Ridiculous. We should be somewhere in reasonable market rate level. I'm all for helping entities out, but
I feel like we are helping
Like
them
Gracious Grounds, we helped
Yeah,
them
we
out.
helped them.
yeah, and that bit us in the.
I mean, I think we're helping them out by giving them a very good rate.
Yeah, well, even at $12, that's a good rate. 70 cents, that's a ridiculous rate.
Yeah.
Connor?
Yes.
Craig, how about if we did most of these, because they need it. Let's be honest, that's not great where they're at.
Yeah.
But raise their rate.
We can take it to them, see if they're willing to do that.
if we improve it to, like we're talking, then they need to pay more rent.
Again, I mean, most commercial spaces, commercial landlords do not remodel for their tenant. Personally, I would assume keep it the way it is. And we're doing a good thing for them. They're good for our community, but it's up to them to remodel.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Craig, what's the square foot that they lease approximately?
1,500 square feet.
So what's 1,500 times 70 cents?
So we're saying 1,500 square feet, but they were quoted for over 2,000 square feet of flooring replacement.
Yeah.
So are we below 70 cents?
Well, they're at 784 or 784, and then that space in the middle, I'm not sure how big it is.
So we might be below 70 cents square foot.
Well, I think we're at 73 cents or something.
All right, say 75 cents times 150, or 1,500 square feet, or how many square feet, times how many years to pay for $25,000?
Well, it says 2,031 square feet in their quote. Now, maybe they added a 10% contingency. That'd still be 1,800 square feet, right? Or, no, 1,600.
Excuse me.
So maybe it's just a contingency.
Yeah, I don't know. When we measured, we got 784 square feet per room.
No, regardless, you know, unless we're not necessarily looking to make money, but we need to at least cover our cost on it. Period. I mean, why are we going backwards? To accommodate a renter. We've had other people in the past looking to rent space in City Hall. I'm not sure lately, off the board for a couple of years. So, and in the past, we've had other people wish to, but we were full.
Craig, to Mike's point, are we charging our other tenants 70 cents a square foot?
They're probably right in there, yes.
So we're really underselling, I mean, all of our
Yes,
for-profit also.
correct.
Okay.
That might be something we need to look at in the future, bump the rent up as they come due. I'm not advocating that we go to the top of the market, but should at least pay the gas bill and electric bill and such.
Does City Hall have enough info to make a run with the ball with Pioneer? Get some more information for City Council?
Sure, more information City Council needs. I think everything's there.
Okay, that's why I'm asking.
My opinion is I don't need more info. I would keep the rent the way it is. Tell them they need to pay for their improvements.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
But 70 cents was still ridiculously low. I mean, come on.
And that's how you justify it when you go back to them. You're
Yeah.
paying 70 cents, the market is nowhere near this. If you'd like to stay at this dirt cheap rate, you're gonna have to make these improvements yourself.
But even if we bumped it to $5, that's still $7 under market value. I mean, what's the worst could happen? They leave? I mean,
Well, yeah, I'd hate to have the only tenant or the first tenant we raise rent on to be the only nonprofit.
well, you know.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
All right, I'll go back to Pioneer.
I wonder if we should have them come in front of us so we can question them directly.
But is it gonna change your?
Well, then we can get a handle on, you know, if the CEO or chairman or whatever comes before us and we can question him and see where they're at. That'd be something that would be possible. I disagree. That's his job. That's true.
I don't think we need to get involved in the nuts and bolts of renting spaces in this building, other than saying yes or no to a request to make those huge capital improvements, which I kind of think we're not inclined to do, but I'm not going to go down that road. As far as negotiating rents, that's Craig's job, and I don't think we need to have somebody standing in front of us.
Good point. You're right.
Okay.
You're okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to, a 7K work session, economic development next steps. Craig?
So if the Economic Development Corporation gets dissolved, I think we're looking for some information from City Council. Do you want to put together an Economic Development Committee to do something in the city? And if so, what do you want that committee to do? If there's economic development that's coming in the city, do we want to refer that to the Planning Commission, or do we want to have a separate board that looks at it? I'm not sure what Economic Development Committee is going to do. We're not going to go out, they're not going to go out and try to solicit business to come into the city. I'm not sure they're going to go visit businesses to see what they're doing. You know, I'm just looking for some direction from City Council. What, if you want an Economic Development Committee, and if so, what do you want them to do?
Jake, you served on Brownfield. Could you lend any insight to this?
I mean, I think the last meeting that I attended, we asked that very question that Craig said is, I asked Chairman Scarpino, what do you envision the purpose of this board being? And he didn't really have an answer.
Your Honor. Sorry, Jake. Go ahead. So my opinion is, this is not the time to talk about this. Just appointed a group, right, for this corporation. Our next step is hopefully to dissolve that. And once it's dissolved, we'll talk about it. I mean, that makes sense in my head, in the order of operations to have this conversation, but maybe not.
Your Honor, well, I kind of feel this conversation will play a role in the dissolving of the corporation and creating the new economic committee. We do have somebody here in the audience that was the founder of the economic committee with the Brownfield, Rebecca Hopp. Would you like to say anything on this comment, Rebecca, or on where you seen the economic development going forward and what you imagined it to be? I know that you had some good ideas when we implemented this committee. I don't mean to put you on the spot, if you don't mind.
In regards to that, as mayor, we brought back the task force. The task force was very instrumental in pulling things together and meeting with area businesses and walking the neighborhoods and things like that. And then in addition to that, working closely with the Brownfield, because I serve as vice chair for Ottawa County Brownfield Economic Development. Those two go hand in hand with the county. And that was pretty much how Ferrisburg had been established originally. When I was mayor, the task force was rolled over into the Brownfield. So with this, if it's being dissolved, to reevaluate it, I still think it would be best, as other communities have it, is that Brownfield and EDC work in conjunction together. You may at some point have two separate agendas, which is what we do at the county. You start one meeting, you go through it, you end the meeting, and then you start the next meeting. I think that would play the best versus adding more to the Planning Commission's. Their mission is very different than the EDC would be. So.
Anyone else have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Go ahead. I was originally on the reconstituted Economic Development Committee until Jerry and I had to swap assignments. But that latest iteration of the committee was temporary, right?
Correct. It was only 1 year.
Right. And that's gone.
Correct.
We're past that. So I guess my object question is, why are we having this discussion? It's over.
I would agree with Councilmember Kate too, because you've just appointed 9 members to hopefully dissolve this committee. And now we're dealing with what Councilmember Sterling had said about hypotheticals. Now you're into this hypothetical, what if could be, I don't know. So I think your time could be utilized more wisely after things are disbanded, and then reconsider and look at things, talk to other communities. There's a lot of information that's out there throughout the state.
Anyone else have any questions? No? Okay, thank you. So are we sensing that council would just soon pause on this? Is that?
I think it makes sense to have the conversation after current corporations dissolve.
Okay. Very good. Moving on to 7L, work session regarding social media. And I think, William, that was thrown on the idea.
Yeah, that might have been. So I think it was back to the just the infographic like some of the other communities have, Craig. Part of our goals are communicating what are the decisions our council are making to the community, right, that we live in and serve in. So we do a good job posting those on the website. I'm assuming you do that, Amber, so thank you.
We've been posting regularly.
But I think it's a fairly simple opportunity to just engage in other avenues, right? You look at Grand Haven's not great at always doing it, but they do. Spring Lake does it very well, but just very simple infographics, right? People don't read, many people don't read the 5 pages of what happened at our meeting, but they will look at a quick snapshot of an infographic and see we voted yes, yes, no, no, yes, right, on different things. So I can give you some examples, Amber, if that helps. I can get with you offline and we can maybe throw something together to bring to the council and see if everybody's on board with it. But I think it just drives to that, you know, transparent government and keeping our residents.
Something along the same format as to what we've done for our city goals.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep.
Except a brief synopsis of.
I mean, we're
critical
doing this
votes.
already. It's about how we're disseminating.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it's all
Yes.
about how we share our information. Right? The decisions are made, but a lot of people don't necessarily want to go watch a 2-hour, 2.5-hour, whatever video. They just want that 10 seconds.
That makes sense. Okay. Anybody else have anything in regards to that? No. 7M work session, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Craig?
So the property next to City Hall, the 8 acres, has been purchased from Gracious Grounds. Developers interested in developing that. He wants to put 4 unit buildings on the 8 acres. There's probably 2.5 or 3 acres of wetlands out there, so he's getting kind of creative on how to put the development together. To do that, he'd like to use the recently enacted Brownfield law that allows for incentives for housing if a certain percentage of the units are income qualified. And so he's willing to do that. And to do the development, he's asking the city to use a TIF to pay for the infrastructure and the upfront cost to get the development going. And that TIF would be paid back through the capture of taxes. So as the value of the property rises, that portion of the increase in taxes would go towards the payment of the TIF, of the bond. And so he wants to increase or have upfront costs about $1.1 million to do that. For the city to upfront that cost, we would have to go out for a bond. And so the question is there interest in implementing the incentive for housing on that property And if so, is council open to the idea of the city bonding for that upfront cost? The city could bond for itself, through itself, or we could go through the county to bond for the project. It all depends on who would get the better interest rate. I'm not sure there'd be much difference between us and the city on $1 million, but we would look into who would have the best interest rate if there's interest in city council moving forward with this. He has submitted a site plan for the planning commission. Planning commission still has to approve that site plan, and they'll be looking at that at their September meeting.
And for the 1.1 million that they'd be looking for the city to finance or to do bonding with, we'd be giving up tax revenue off the improvements on that property for what, 15 or 20 years?
It would take a 20-year payback to pay off the bond, and then all that increase would come to the taxing units.
So we'd be making less in taxes. I'm asking. The tax money goes to pay the bond.
That's correct. So
right now, the property is tax exempt unless it's been sold to the developer, which I don't think it has been yet, has it?
This has been sold.
Oh, it has been sold.
So on 2025 tax bill, there'll be some value to that land added to the city. So that's the base rate. So anything over that is going to be used to pay back the bond.
Okay, so if the base rate was, let's say, $100,000 assessed value, they'd still be paying that $100,000 tax for the property of the city. Anything above that would go to that 15 or 20-year bond.
That's correct.
But if they just finance on their own, we would get that tax base immediately?
That's correct.
So I'm curious, has this gone to the Brownfield?
Yeah, the Brownfield reviewed the plan at their meeting this month and support using the TIF incentive.
Your Honor?
Yes.
A couple questions for Craig. Part of this deal is they're gonna give us the property to offset Fire Barn Park, correct?
Are they?
Yes, they're gonna, as part of the deal that they're willing to deed 1 acre to the city for that property conversion.
And
that's a good.
Have we validated that we're able to use it though, correct?
We've had some preliminary discussions, and it's gonna require that the city hall property, a good portion of it's got to be covered as park forever.
So we could designate it a wildlife preserve and leave it as wetlands, correct?
Well, we'd have to designate the ball field as a park. That is always going to stay a park.
Right, but the property they're going to donate to the city to offset our obligation to the state or whatever for the fire barn, that deal.
That wetland?
No. We have to do some improvements on that property though.
Right.
So we would have to do something.
Yeah.
To what extent?
First blush, I'm thinking expand the community garden.
Are they willing to help with any of this cost? Because we're essentially like an interest-free, it's not even a loan, their taxes paid.
Yeah. I haven't had a conversation with them.
The developer is developing this. What are they paying? I guess that's where maybe I'm missing something.
No.
So we don't have, sounds like I need to be in development because so the developer develops this property essentially for free, and then the future owners of these houses pay taxes as usual, and those taxes pay back that loan to us.
Correct. Pays for the bond.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Okay, back to my question. And they're gonna, part of the agreement I read somewhere, that they're gonna give us the property to offset that grant mess up, correct?
Correct.
And what kind of money do we have to invest in that to be copacetic with DNR or whoever we get, whoever we got to satisfy?
The property has to be used for public use. They really haven't defined how much the city has to improve that property. But at first glance, we're thinking just expanding the community garden, so it's public use.
Is that a number we need to see prior to?
Before this all goes through, we'll have to get approval from National Park Services and the state.
Okay, so that's question number one.
Greg, go ahead.
Go ahead, if you got it. Let me rethink my question.
Yep,
here.
go ahead. Go ahead, Lauren.
We haven't had that really deep conversation with the National Park Service on what's required for that property. If we get it, you know, we want to get some preliminary feedback from City Council. Is this worth pursuing or not?
So what, do you have an idea based on their proposal of what the loss of taxable revenue would be for the city?
So it's on page 2, 3, 6. Page 6 of the spreadsheets in your packet, it shows how much each unit will be captured with the increase. So
what's the ballpark number that we're sacrificing?
and once it gets fully developed, it looks like $20,000 in 2030, 2029. So it'd be 20,000 for 11 or 12 years, 240,000.
Of course, the trade-off is we solve our park problem,
That's correct.
and we're providing some of workforce housing within the city limits.
That's correct. 4 units out of the 16.
4 units out of 16 or what?
Income qualified. So
Okay. So we're,
So
I think it's worth asking for them to help us.
So you're looking for some direction as to whether we need to move forward.
yeah,
Okay.
we'll move forward.
I think the least they could do is help with some sort of park improvement for us.
Certainly worthy running forward with our investigation.
Okay, we'll do that.
A couple questions. As I read this, there was gonna be 4 low-income or income qualified. Can the
4.
city request more? I mean, everybody's.
Brownfield requires at least 1 unit be income qualified. He's willing to do 4.
For the TIF.
Right. For the TIF, only one's
So-
required by law.
But we can require more, or request more, correct?
We request more, I'm not sure. So the price point is gonna be different for income qualified than it is for the other 12 units. So I'm not sure if we request more than 4 units, I think income qualified, if the development is worth his while, then I don't know the answer to that. I would have, we can have that conversation.
Well, everybody's screaming about, I've been to several meetings with the townships and Grand Haven City about low-income housing, blah, 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 how we're short. This may be an opportunity to, instead of 4, maybe we get 8. Is that a conversation that should happen? I guess I'm looking for direction from the council here.
We could certainly make that part of the conversation, couldn't we, Craig?
Yes, we could.
Okay.
The other question I got is, there's some question whether the county would underwrite this TIF. Would that be in the city's interest to have this county do it as opposed to the city?
The county is able to take over the development, and they would oversee the project. With this project, there's a 5% admin fee that gets paid to whoever oversees the units, so they would get that. They would have the approval process, and then would come back to city council to agree with their approval.
So what is city staff's perspective on it? Is it worth the 5% for us to keep it?
The Brownfield Authority thought that the city should keep it to oversee the project.
Okay, I guess that was the question I had. Thank you.
You're, Craig, so this hasn't gone through planning yet?
In September it will.
Is there concern from city staff on the design? It looks like I can walk out the back door of City Hall and walk into their patio.
The city planner's looking at it.
Okay.
I know there'll be some questions from the engineer and from the fire department.
Okay, okay.
It's super preliminary right now.
Correct.
Yeah, I'd be, okay.
So basically what you're looking for is city council's advice is to go forward with
If city council's open to bonding for this project and getting that paid through the TIF. No, just looking for direction.
Yes, Jay.
Craig, I have a question. The county were to administer this, would then the city lose its ability to essentially leverage for the acre that we're looking to get over then?
I'm not sure he would pull that from us, no.
What's that?
I'm not sure the developer would pull that from us.
Okay, so it's not contingent upon who the administrator is?
No, of course not.
You comfortable with the information you have?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Time for public comments, agenda item number 8. Do we have any public comments? Yes, Tom.
I'm Joiner 16061 Harborview. I would just like to comment on the education of the citizens and the commissions of the city of Harrisburg. I'm a registered civil engineer and land surveyor. I've been involved in land development for over 50 years. The city has an ordinance in your residential areas that a maximum of 65% of the lot can be covered with impervious area. I'm very concerned about the way that you allowed Lakeview Avenue to be developed. Both the parcels where the homes are and the boat lots. Every one of those parcels, at least 90% I should say, do not meet your ordinance. The Zoning Board of Appeals has granted the development the way it is. So by doing that, you have forced the stormwater to go into the, overload the storm sewer systems and go directly into the lake. The reason that you had the ordinance read of 35% pervious is so that the stormwater could percolate into the ground. Okay? So I think you need to inform the Zoning Board of Appeals and whatever other body approves development like that, that there's a reason why you have 35% pervious. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Yes.
Rebecca Hopp, as former mayor and educator, education is very important as elected officials. There seems to be a lack of that. My concern tonight is for full transparency of the council members' actions and the failure to abide by the state laws. William Montgomery's violation of the State Michigan Ethics Act 196 Standards of Conduct of Public Officers and Employees by soliciting or accepting gifts, loans, goods, services, etc., which tend to influence his or her performance of an official capacity. Fact, Montgomery's campaign finance reports all are available on the Ottawa County website for anyone to review, and it demonstrates that he received from Regina Schoberg $10,000 in contribution. Fact, June 17, 2024, Montgomery failed to disclose to the public his conflict of interest or to recuse himself from the vote to appoint Regina Schoberg to the Planning Commission. Montgomery did not disclose to the public that Regina Schoberg had loaned him $10,000 towards his legal fees for his unsuccessful suit against the city of Harrisburg. Fact, February 19, 2024, William Montgomery again failed to disclose to the public his conflict of interest and recuse himself from the vote to appoint Regina Schoberg to the EDC. Tonight, Montgomery did not disclose to the public that Regina Schoberg loaned him $10,000 towards the legal fees of his unsuccessful suit against the city of Ferrisburg. Fact, the Ferrisburg City Council is now a, quote, pay-to-play. Residents need to pay candidates large sums of money to be granted positions on city subcommittees. The residents need to be very aware of this and the action that some of these members on council are behaving.
Thank you.
So I guess I should point out that the state of Michigan also investigated this and the matter is closed, but that's okay. I also want to point out that I also not only supported but seconded the vote for Ms. Hop because I feel like she is an appropriate person for the same commission. So to say I'm pay to play is a little absurd, but everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Thank you. City reports, city manager,
No report?
council members, Mr. Sterling?
No report.
Okay. Guys?
No report. I do have a question though for KLH. Are they having a hike next month? You know?
Hike next month?
Yeah, don't they have a nature hike in September at the dunes?
Nothing scheduled at this time.
Oh, it's not this year. Okay, sorry. I was just curious.
Anything else, Jerry? Okay, Debbie?
The Beautification Commission met Monday, the 12th. We've decided to go ahead with the Halloween party again this year. It's going to be October 25th. We're going to try it again. Hopefully we'll have some good attendance. We've decided to do the Christmas carol sing, tree lighting on the 14th. And we're going to go ahead with the light show contest again this year and see how that goes. So that's where we're at. End of report.
Hey Debbie, can I make a suggestion about the light show? I had several residents say to me that they'd like to have like a map are located at. So like maybe after the nominations, we could publish something where citizens can go out and see it.
Great. Councilmember DeWitt?
Just a shout out to the ladies that do the flowers. The city's looking excellent this year. I appreciate your work on the beautification committee. To see the ladies triangle all the time. I don't dare honk or
The
yell.
garden, Grand Haven Garden.
Garden looks nice.
Yeah, they're the ones.
Yeah, that's it.
Very good. Mr. Kate?
No report.
Very good.
Nora board was canceled for this month. Other than that, no report.
Very good. Well, certainly I would echo the sentiments about the beautiful flowers and the great job that city staff is doing in all our parks and everything else. How are we coming along for the city manager performance evaluation?
Well, I just got another one from Jerry tonight. So we have Mike, Jerry, and myself each day.
Okay.
Here's Bill's.
Very
In
good.
complete transparency,
And-
I haven't done mine yet, but I'll send it to you.
And I haven't either as well.
We'll be checking with you daily.
Party in the park this Wednesday?
Yes.
Correct?
Oh, shoot,
So
yes.
in
yeah.
2 days,
Yeah.
that's, only I missed that. And then Craig, have we had any response back from Brooke Bissonette's latest letter to the city of Grand Haven regarding the snow melt?
No, we have not.
Okay. Very good. We may need to address that at our next meeting. End of report.
Motion to adjourn.
Support. Thank you. Appreciate all your patience.
I don't know where all these fruit flies come
We
from.
got fruit flies.
They've been bugging me